Hello, everyone. How are you doing? We are here with Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell, Esquire. This is God's Promises Media interviewing this extraordinary woman. I spoke to her and I was like floored. I was in awe. I am not joking. So let me just tell you a little bit about Lynita, okay? Lynita is a #1 best-selling author. Her book is Live Life on Fire: The Guide to the Ultimate Successful Life, full of peace, joy, and fulfillment. Let me read a little bit of her bio. Yes, audience, I am reading it because she does so much. And then we're going to have Lynita tell us a little bit more about herself. Lynita is a lawyer and has built an award-winning law firm and publishing house. She's, of course, an author, CPA, an ordained New Thought minister, and recognized nationally as an outstanding community leader. Welcome again, Lynita. Yay! Oh my goodness. She is. Please tell us more about yourself. Again, everyone, I was in awe when she she did almost pass out on the floor. I was like, what am I doing? Like, my goodness. So, Lynita, tell us more about yourself, please.
First, Stacy, thank you so much for having me. I am excited to be here. And what do you mean? What are you doing? You're doing God's work. I mean, you have this awesome show. You're clearly artistic and creative. I mean, look at you. Look at that background. And you have provided a beautiful platform to bring people like me onto to amplify our voices. So yeah, you're doing the doggone thing. So okay. You're welcome. As Stacy has read, I've accomplished much in my life, and it is truly to God's glory. But I was not always a good shepherd or steward over the people who were following behind me and my skills, gifts, and talents. And it was not purposeful. It was because I had an idea in my head of what success was and what it looked like. And even when circumstances had changed and clearly my idea was not correct, I did not take the time to hire the people who could help me or to listen to guidance and counsel from people who love me to change course. And so, as God does, He steps in. So, what do I mean by all that? Well, let me start from the beginning, okay? I have had a beautiful life, a wonderful life. I have great parents, family, support system, community, all of that. God has been good to me, right? And they all encouraged me that if I worked hard, that I would be rewarded. And that cycle pretty much did manifest the rewards that I was promised. I was promised that if I did well in school, that I would get a scholarship and that I would go to college and I would do well and get a good job. And I would do well on the job and earn promotions and money. And eventually I would have enough experience to strike out on my own, and that I would be supported and I would be rewarded and that accolades would come. And they did. I became an attorney. I became a CPA. I was a #1 best-selling author of 5 books. I have published other authors, and 9 of them are bestsellers themselves. I have spoken across the world, have traveled, and I have built businesses, plural. I have my own firm for accounting and for law. I have built a media company and ran it for 5 years and had great success where we were covering red carpet events such as the Soul Train Music Awards. Have built publishing company where I mentioned that we publish other authors, and I have been members of speaker bureaus. So when I tell you that God has been good, that is not an exaggeration. That is for real. But my self-worth and self-esteem, honestly, were tied up in not in the glory of God and how it was being seen through my work. It was caught up in, oh, Lynita, you're just so wonderful. And we just love having you. And the problem with that, Stacy, was when I was tired, I did not rest. because I was addicted to hearing all that. If I wasn't hearing that, then something was wrong. And so I just worked harder. I did more. And God gives us all these tools and these resources, like our body, to let us know when it's time to sit down. Yes. And when my hair started breaking off, and I'm not talking about just little edges, I'm talking about there were patches of hair just gone. I didn't listen. I just wore wigs. I had a fabulous wig collection. And if you look through like my social, because I've been on for quite a while, you will see it, right? Yeah. When my nails started breaking off and splitting down the middle, I just started wearing acrylic, and I thought it was cute. I just blinged them out, and then my skin started to deteriorate, but I wouldn't stop. I was sleeping maybe 2 or 3 hours a night so I could keep up with the pace. I was going all the time. The one thing that could not be covered up with all this makeup and nails and wigs and stuff was when my daughter literally found me passed out in the middle of the floor from exhaustion. And to give y'all some understanding about how horrifying that is, she was 6 years old. So if you imagine your small child finding you like that, and God protects them too, because she just thought I was tired. And so she went and she got her Disney princess's blanket from her bed and she put it over me. And she got a little pillow and put it under my head. And she kissed me on the forehead and said, "Good night, Mama." And all I had strength to do, Stacy, was say, "Good night, baby." I couldn't get up. I couldn't get up. And I knew something had to change. But Stacy, I didn't know what, and I didn't know how, because that was the life that I knew. And so I went back to it. And I perceived that if I said no, that those opportunities would never come, even though I know I'm a 5th generation preacher's kid. I know that when something is for you, that no man can take it from you. But I was not walking in that knowledge. Okay. And it was not until, because, my body is still continuing to break down. And I developed fibroids and then stage 4 endometriosis. And I was bleeding through my clothes. I had gotten to the place where I was wearing Depends and was bleeding through Depends. And finally, the doctors were able to figure out endometriosis because they can't scan for that. They have to deduct from what isn't wrong. And by the time they opened me up, it was so bad they could not operate. They had to close me back up. And they woke me up and said, we're going to have to put you on a regimen of medicine to try and burn off as much of that as possible, because right now the endometriosis has solidified your bowel to your uterus, the back wall of your vagina, and your cervix. They're all one clump like this. We cannot operate like that. And so I went on a regimen of truly horrible medications. And one of them was a cancer drug. And 6 months later, they were able to operate. And before they operated, though, they gave me this list of disclosures and releases I had to sign that basically said, we don't know what's going to happen after this, Yeah. And so I had to get my affairs in order. When you have that in your face and you have a small child, you have a young husband, you are thinking to yourself, I got to get something has to change. And I promised God, I was like, if you bring me through this, I will make the necessary adjustments. I trust that you're going to bring the people. And he did. I started working with Reverend Rowena Silvera Beck, who is also an incredible performance coach. And she had me list everything that I was involved in. And Stacy, it was 7 pages, single space, because it wasn't just the businesses, it was also my professional organizations. I was serving as president of 3 different organizations at the same time. And it was also the community organizations and the church affiliations. But it was also the personal stuff too, because if we think of ourselves as mom, right? We want to list that as just one thing, but mom has 12 different roles, particularly when your children are small. You're carpooling to and from school. So that's 2, right? Yes. You are preparing meals and you're shopping for them. That's 2 more. You are laying out clothes and buying their clothes and making sure that they are well and their hygiene is good. And by the time you look up, there's 12 things under just being mom, right? So she said, you got to get that down to 2 pages. And so it took about 2 years, but we did it because I was serving in all of these roles. And that meant that I had not just a duty to myself, but to the people who were in the organization to either help them find somebody else or train somebody. And for those organizations, and there were a couple that just didn't want to hear it when I was like, no, I'm coming out of here. It meant stepping away and staying away. So once we did that, then I was able to really, well, I shouldn't say once. At the same time, we were working on why I had twisted up my identity and my self-esteem and being busy and making myself needed, because it made me feel needful, right? But why would I need that? What was it that made it seem like if I didn't have these, as my mom would say, 11 million things going on, that the world is over and then I just might as well just roll over and go on to glory? What is that about, right? And so what we found is that well-meaning list that was given to me when I was small, that if you work hard, that you will be successful, I did what almost all of us do, is I equated success with happiness. The problem with that is that happiness is temporary. Happiness is externally determined, and that means that somebody else always has control over what you're feeling. Now, folks don't want to hear this. I talk to people often who will tell me that they are happy when they are out with other people. They are happy when they're shopping. They're happy when they're having these glorious and sometimes really expensive experiences, right? And I'm like, that's great. But wouldn't you like to be joyful instead? And the difference between the two is that joy is an inside job. It's internal. Joy is your relationship with your Heavenly Father. And I normally say to the God of your understanding, because Stacy, we are always growing in our relationship with God. What I understand about his goodness today at 47 and after all I've been through is so different and miles beyond what I understood about him as I was learning about him in Sunday school. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so I tell folks, it starts with gratitude and thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
Because there's always something to be grateful for, even in the midst of our worst trouble. And after everything I've shared, I know about trouble. I know about pain. I know about suffering. I've faced death down. And so for me to say that even in the midst of all of that, there was still and is still something to be grateful for, then that means that there is something that you can find too. And that means that now we can shift this conversation from success equaling happiness to not only success equaling joy, but disconnecting success from the material realm to now connecting it where it belongs, which is the spiritual realm. Dr. Larry Reed made this profound statement, and it has stuck with me since I heard him say it over a year ago. He said, money is the lowest form of prosperity. It all starts in the spiritual realm. By the time you see it in money, and I'm substituting money right now with house, clothes, cars, success, worldly success, jobs, right? Businesses. Yes. By the time it manifests there, something had to have already happened in the atmosphere for it to shoot down here, right?
Yes.
There had to have been some understanding, connection, agreement with God for that to happen. And some people don't even understand that that happened, particularly when I run across non-believers, right?
Yes.
They will say, I don't believe. And I'm like, God's promises don't return void. Whether you believe or not, if you do the steps, the manifestation comes, because that's what God said would happen. Okay. And when we're talking about being grateful, that means that we do understand that it is coming from Him. And now we have another level that we can tap into to ensure that the faucet stays on and continues to flow. That allows us to walk in a place that now is not just joyful, Stacy, but is also peaceful, and that we can be fulfilled. And I need people to understand that fulfillment doesn't mean that you're complacent, right? Fulfillment means that everything that I have here, that I understand where it came from, I know what it's supposed to be used for, that it is temporary, and I'm moving forward to the next thing. I'm grateful for it, but we don't stop here. And for most of us, we get the concept, but we have never really understood how it worked. And so when I talk to people about living this life on fire, one of peace, joy, and fulfillment, that this is the new standard for success, some of them believe that I'm trying to tell them you're going to give away everything you've worked your whole life for. Lies. No. What I'm saying is it no longer defines who you are, what you are, or how you serve, as Paul Selig says so beautifully in his books. Yes. And so that's what I do. It was long, but it was real. That is how we wound up here with you today, Stacy.
That is an extraordinary testimony, and I am so grateful that you were a warrior and you went through the journey.
Thank you.
Many of us, if we knew God's plan,
we would have won. We would have
run. That's right. We were saying thanks, but no thanks, Lord. Yeah, love you, love the purpose, the plan, not so much. Gotta go.
Yeah. And that's the truth. Oh my goodness.
So thank you for picking up your mantle. Thank you for picking up your cross. Thank you for going through it, because you could have said no more. I give up. That's it. This is good. I'm here. I'm done. I have enough. I'll just step off. But you didn't. You had tenacity, right? Bravery, courage. You relied on the Holy Spirit. You are here today to teach us how to do this better, right? To do this walk according to what God has for us and not what the world has for us. So this is a blessing. So in all of this, I am not going to say, I'm guessing, when did he say, write the book? When did God say, write the book? It's time.
So the book had been coming in pieces, and this is how I write. Normally I'm on a walk, I'm in the car by myself, or it's just quiet time, right? Where there's no one else around. And then he will start downloading. and I will grab my phone and start talking into it, and it is transcribing as I'm going. And when the flow stops, then I stop. And so the book actually started, I would say, toward the end of 2021. And then it flowed, I mean, like gushing during that winter coming into the early spring of 2022. And I felt this pressure, Stacy. It was this push, like this has got to come now. And I had not felt that in my previous books, even though the process was the same, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't know it, but it had to come then because my final surgery was coming. But I didn't know it was, right? I went down for my nephew's graduation. We're from Miami, and so that's where he was. And I knew I hadn't been feeling quite right for a while, but I didn't know what it was. I hadn't changed my diet. I was exercising. I was drinking my water, and I wasn't like sick, you know, but I just didn't feel like myself. Well, it came to pass. We're down there at the graduation. I'm not feeling well, and I start to vomit. My husband takes me to the hospital, and they find that those previous surgeries,
Yes.
I now had scar tissue, and it had like, it was everywhere. And so they had to go in and remove it. Now, other people would be like, that's horrible. Oh my God, I thought you were through that. But wait, watch God. So this book comes, right? And it comes right when it's supposed to, because the words are his, the feelings are his, and it is coming before the final push. What people didn't know is the name of the book didn't come, the content came. And the name of the book came only after the old stuff was removed so I could be fully healed. And that's where the peace, joy, and fulfillment came from. So if I can still say that God is good, that I am grateful, that I live in joy and still am in peace after that, then that means that it's real and it works.
Yes. Oh, that
Yeah.
is so beautiful. So beautiful. Oh my goodness. I love the way God works, right? We sort of think we know how he's going to work, or we have that question of why, right? And sometimes the why should be changed in what do you want me to do with this, Lord? Right? Like, this is happening to me. What do you want me to learn from it? What do you want me to do with this? How is this going to serve someone else?
Yes.
How are we going to grow in our relationship, Lord?
Yes.
So this is a time of trust. This is a time, like you said, of gratitude to
Yes.
go through the journey with him, trusting in him, loving him,
Yes.
and becoming the best of who we are so we can give our best to others in service. That's what you're doing, Lynita. That's
Thank
what you're doing. Oh,
Thank
you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. So, Lynita, our time is winding up. I'm going to give you the floor to please, you know, add to if there's anything you want to add to our conversation, please do. And then please tell people where they can reach you. So, because you have this wonderful service, right? And I want people to know about that. You have a 4 phase that leads to a final result of in your coaching business that's like insanely great. And people will grow from it. So by working with you, so please tell us about that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, what I do now is I go everywhere I am invited to share this message of peace, joy, and fulfillment being the new standard for success. And I would just like your viewers to know that this is not you throwing away your life. This is embracing all parts of it and knowing that it took everything that you have experienced to be the person you are and to bring you to this moment right here, right now, which is the only moment that matters. Yes. Because if we don't take care of this moment, the next can't come. And so all this planning and strategizing that we have done means nothing if right here, right now, we can't be in good shape. And so to do that, I take us through a 5-step process, the Live Life on Fire blueprint, which is number 1, focusing on people and not process. Number 2, to unstretch yourself thin, so removing all these things that no longer are in service of you. Number 3, to leave it all on the field, so stop second guessing yourself, beating yourself up for things that went on yesterday, a year ago, 50 years ago. Number 4, to living a model life that is pleasing to God and therefore will be to you as well. And number 5, to being a living testimony. So when people ask, you won't have to push down on them. When they ask, you can share how you got to where you are with peace, joy, and fulfillment. And if this resonates with you, I would love for us to be in contact. Come to my website, LynitaMitchell-Blackwell.com, so we can connect via my email list. We can connect on social under my name here. Stacey has been so gracious to put my IG handle, which is my name, Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell, ESQ. And let's start a dialogue. Let's get in contact.
Thank you, Lynita. That is absolutely beautiful. Please, viewers, go and check Lynita's IG out, her website out. I loved it. She has all of her information on there, and I will attach it to the comments section of this interview as well. So, Lynita, I know you're busy. You have another interview after this. This woman is going. Hopefully, at some point, we can have another discussion, because I would love to interview you about some other things, because you're just a wealth, a fountain of information, and a spiritual guide for so many. So I hope we can get you back on to talk about a few other things as well.
Absolutely, Stacey. You just call and I'm coming.
Okay. Thank you. Everyone have a blessed rest of your day, week, month, year. And again, go check out Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell. You will thank yourself, and you will definitely thank God for it. Okay, so take care. Have a good one. And God bless. Abundant blessings to everyone. Have a beautiful day, Lynita. And again, thank you for your service. Thank you for sharing your time with me, with us. And thank you for your testimony and the work that you do to serve God. You are a true blessing. This is what a blessing looks like. Lynita is a blessing. Thank you. Bye, everyone.